Welcome back, everybody. Well, as Republicans prepare to head to Tampa, Democrats continue to wage attacks on the Romney-Ryan ticket, accusing the governor of entering the birther movement, for example, destroying Medicare, and of being insensitive to women's issues. Here's the latest web ad from the DNC. Take a look.
Here's the story of a man named Romney. They're selecting to lead the GOP, cutting taxes for the rich, like his buddy. Tax like you and me. Here's the story of a man named Ryan who was busy with a budget of his own, ending Medicare as we know it.
Sort of a humorous look there, takeoff from, of course, from the popular show The Brady Bunch. Minneapolis Mayor R.T. Rybak is the Vice Chairman of the Democratic National Committee. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good to be back.
So let's talk about that ad for a moment. Is that an attempt to show that, from your view, that the Romney bunch is a bunch that you guys don't really care for, or you don't think the public can trust?
Well, I think it really underscores the fact that Mitt Romney has outsourced his core political values to the highest bidder. To get a nomination, he sided with incredibly extreme parts of the Republican Party. To get the cash, he sided with those of the very, very top end, and you really wonder what Mitt Romney is, so you have to tell by who he's around, and that's not a very encouraging sight.
Well, there are those who would throw up the fact that the Obama bunch, too, if you take a look on our screen there, but some of the folks supporting the president, people like Nancy Pelosi and the Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and those, they're not doing too well in the favorability arena as well in the public. So when you match up teams like this, what do you think it says?
Well, I think let's see what the president's team accomplished. They came into office in the worst economic calamity since the Depression. They took over. We were losing 750,000 jobs a month. We had 29 straight months of private sector job growth. I'd give that team a victory. I'd say it's a victory when you get the country out of the horrible war in Iraq and you get bin Laden, another score for the home team. I think you would say that when you put 30 million people on health care, including 11 million kids, that's another victory. So I'll give the team a pretty good winning percentage right now.
What do you make of the fact that everyone's been talking about the fact that this is seen as one of the nastiest campaigns in recent memory? Both sides are not letting up. Do you think these attack ads are working?
Well, you know, from the beginning, the president took over in a crisis and he moved forward, and Mitch McConnell and the Republican leaders said their #1 goal was to not solve problems but to throw stuff at the president. And I kind of had to laugh at John Sununu, of all people, talking about negative campaigning. He's been spewing negative trash since the Pleistocene era. And the fact of the matter is, the president has reached across the aisle time and time again. My job at the DNC would have been a heck of a lot easier, I can tell you, if the president would have just been siding with the base. But instead, he's tried time and time again, in a crisis, to unify this country. And he's unified the country with the exception of extremists who've taken over the Republican Party. You know, I was born a Republican. There are some great Republicans in this country, but Mitt Romney has sold out to the very, very extreme parts of the party, and that I'm sure even some of your listeners find to be a little bit off the cliff. And what we really need to do is to continue with a president who's moving us in the right direction, not moving back to the bad old days, and I think with some pretty shadowy characters who now Mitt Romney in desperation seems to be playing out to. Birthers? Are you kidding me?
You're calling them shadowy characters?
Well, sure. There are all sorts of folks like that. Look at where the money is coming from to fuel these horrible ads that we're seeing. And and I think one of the things that really needs to be done is we need to know exactly who's funding that. And the problem is the Supreme Court made a horrible decision in Citizens United. It allowed all sorts of folks to
The same could be said about the Obama side, that people are trying to find out where the money trail leads from those who are giving to Obama's campaign.
Well, then let's do what the president has always been about, which is reform a sick campaign finance system. Let's appoint Supreme Court justices who won't make a decision like that. Let's have open declaration. Let's look at the fact that the president said that even with this convention, we weren't going to have the same sort of contributions that the Republicans are doing, making it tougher again. If we want to have a discussion about openness in financing a government, the president, who for much of his career has been a leader on that, will do it. But we're not going to get into a situation
let me ask you really
where
quickly.
we allow the airwaves to be spewed with trash without fighting back.
Well, let me ask you this, though. The polls are showing, obviously, a virtual dead heat at this point. Isn't the White House a bit concerned at this point of the game, hoping that they would have been an incumbent president would be ahead by far more than what they're seeing right now? And does this suggest that the White House has some work to do, particularly with getting the base to show up at the polls on Election Day?
You know, I've been all over the country with the base, and I'm telling you, the base is more than energized, and boy, is the base going to get energized when they see some of the things coming out of that convention, as they got energized by some of the craziness during the primaries, you know, booing gay soldiers and cheering for people to be taken off health care and dying. That kind of stuff, that's all you need to energize a base. But more important, the president is liked in this country. He's supported in this country, and he has an incredible record to run on that we're running on. And I think what's important is that this is a country that was in a colossal mess when he took over. All that Mitt Romney is proposing is going back to the bad old days. So we'll keep moving forward with President Obama.
All right, Mayor Rybak, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good talking to you again.
Good to talk to you as well. Thank you. Well, the second half of America's News Headquarters starts right after the break, and here's what's coming.